part 2 of this one-part series, we looked at comedian David Mitchell's preference for agnosticism over atheism, and his very bad reasons for saying so. David wants there to be a God, however unconvinced he is at the moment of that probability. He also doesn't like the idea of big bad atheists and anti-theists like myself robbing people of the comfort religion brings, especially in moments of existential crisis. I dealt with that objection in part 2, so I won't be discussing that here. Rather, we're going to be taking a look at the possibility of God's existence from a more evidential perspective. And when I say God, I'm talking about the God David longs for, as mentioned in his interview.
I do want there to be something. I want there to be an all-powerful, benevolent God.
I think a good argument can be made that no all-powerful, benevolent God exists. I might even consider myself a Gnostic atheist when it comes to this question. And my evidence for this claim is as powerful as it is inescapable. Just look around at the world we live in, filled with misery, suffering, pain, and evil. The classic Epicurean formation of the problem goes like this. Is God willing to prevent evil but not able? Then he is not all-powerful. Is he able but not willing? Then he is malevolent. Is he both able and willing? Then from whence cometh evil? Catholic theologian St. Thomas Aquinas suggested an equally insurmountable problem, but only for an infinitely good God, which might not be David's God. In the presence of an infinitely good God, evil cannot exist, as an infinitude of goodness simply leaves no room for evil. One simply cannot imagine an all-powerful being who is in any way benevolent sitting back and watching the mess he's created here without lifting an immaterial finger. Imagine the family dog having a litter of puppies who end up treating each other like we do. 2 seconds wouldn't go by without our stepping in when the male puppies begin stoning the female puppies simply for becoming sexually active. A few months back, I looked at a video from Cameron over on the Capturing Christianity channel, making the case for why God didn't just create us already in heaven. It's a good question, and one Cameron couldn't answer without abject contradictions and outright dumbassery. The all-knowing God of the Bible, Cameron's God, would know who among us will make it into heaven, and his all-goodness would compel him to simply create us already there, leaving those who would have ended up in hell uncreated altogether. A much better outcome for them. And the mark of actual benevolence. To suggest that God's allowing certain evils makes possible a greater good not possible without said evil, as some theologians have argued, is to admit that God is not all-powerful or infinitely good. There's some goodness that God cannot create without creating evil first? You know what? I can live without that level of goodness, as I'm sure we all can. Exactly how benevolent does David's God have to be? While there is nothing here which would necessarily exclude an all-powerful God, the possibility of an even slightly benevolent God is removed by the most cursory perusal of human history. The daily sufferings are sufficient, let alone the genuine atrocities of, say, slavery or the Holocaust. Perhaps the best example is that of Jesus himself. An even slightly benevolent God, certainly one who is all-powerful, would simply have forgiven our sins. He or she would have no need for the torture, the suffering, the blood sacrifice. Such barbarism is the antithesis of benevolence, and those who can find or take comfort in such a story should make us all uncomfortable. Once again, I'm me. Thanks for watching.